Even a season in now, it's still very difficult to do research on the guy.
Yeah, I don't let people escape me lightly. And Mysterious, I went through his ESL results previously. There's some UK, some French.
Yeah.
And he's played against a lot of these people in this league in various other tournaments, and with mixed results actually. Like anyone you've not heard of that he's played against, he's bashed them, like 3-0, so on. When people he's played in this league, he's tended to do badly against them overall. But you don't get into this league and do well in it if you're not a very solid UK professional, UK player at least.
Absolutely.
I mean, he came third, didn't he? So he's definitely performed incredibly well.
He is a fabulous player, but I am going to cut you guys short just quickly because the game is about ready, so I'm going to poke you for a prediction. How do you think this one's going to go?
Jambre 3-2.
Jambre 3-1.
He's taking a leaf out of my book this time.
Yeah, I'm just copying you now.
I think I'm going to go with Jambre as well, just because I've heard a lot about this guy. This guy's already got a reputation, so I think about Jambre 3-1, but that's nothing against you, Mysterious. I think you're a fantastic player too. So we'll have to see how this one's going to go. And I think we're just about ready to get into this game. And I mean, we just had a glance at the decks. What do you guys think these lineups are going to be looking like here?
Well, if anyone was going to bring Paladin, it was going to be Jambre.
Yep.
He's the guy to bring Paladin to this lineup here. And like Lorinda said, he's been good with Dragon Paladin. He's had various, he's like kind of the class. Everyone has a class they favours, right? Ness has kind of been Priest. Priest is what Ness brought to all of the True Silver Championships and kind of did really well with. Jambre has been Paladin. He's had a very, very good run on Paladin over the years.
You asked for it.
Well, we'll see.
Speaking of Paladin.
That is going to be the one he opts to go for first. And already we're seeing a couple of clues on how this deck is going to be built and what it's around. Look at those Divine Shields already coming through. Silent Knight, not a card that really anyone's used to seeing in competitive play, aside from specifically a deck like this.
Yeah, Silent Knight. So he is going with the sort of stuff that he is known for. Very tricksy Paladin in general, so we have to keep our wits about as we cast this one.
It's a variation of Secret Paladin here coming through. Redemption, he's going to play, I think this is the better play, turn 1. It starts to put pressure on the board, but we have Babbling Book from Mysterious. It is that variant of Tempo Mage that you talked about. Fill your hand with spells. Maybe we see it slow down with Archmage Antonidas towards the end of the game. We'll have to see how this one pans out.
Right, and Babbling Book as well. As we see a Leroy just casually ripped off the top there from Jambre. Very aggressive Paladin, probably almost certainly going to stick with the meme with the eggs in this, by the way.
Two series in a row that we're going to see Leroy as well.
Hey!
Munchie's on a roll.
A moment in silence for cringe in chat.
When it can trade with the other 1-drop is when this card becomes really powerful. On top of that is when it draws a card that's already in your deck, which is what it did as well. So it's done two things that are really good, and it's going to make life hard for Jambre, but Jambre is so used to having life made hard for him with these sort of decks.
Absolutely, he's going to go for the Silent Knight, which is played on field now. Mysterious has options in hand, but I don't know how much. Well, you could hope that basically trade into the 1-1, then play Flamewaker Coin Mirror Image. It basically gives you a 50-50. No, a little bit less than that to end up taking out Silent Knight, I believe.
The Silent Knight, because the shield as well makes it really awkward for him, but getting everything in the way here. And basically, Mysterious's game plan is don't die.
Consecration here is pretty good though, but it still feels reactionary for Jambre's Paladin, where he wants to be the aggressor, doesn't want to be the one catching up, clearing board. However, it has made what we can see from Mysterious a pretty tricky turn 4 play.
Yeah, I think we might just see him ping face. Again, he is the guy, he doesn't need to push the issue here, I don't think, because if he doesn't die, he wins. And he has the Kabbalist Tome to refill later, but yeah, he's just going to wait and kill the things as they appear.
Yeah, I think wise decision there, to be honest. I think it's just overcommitment of resources to use any kind of fireball, as we are going to see an Argent Commander as well. So this is a very, very aggressive deck coming out from Jambre, but also just kind of bizarre. Like, not a deck that anyone, I think, is used to seeing.
The last time I saw Argent Commander involved was when Ball Control started subbing it into some of his decks. And that was, I think, around 4 or 5 months ago. But I can't remember which deck he brought it into, but I remember he was pretty adamant that he wanted to sub Argent Commander in somewhere.
We saw Argent Commander in some zoo builds for a very short time, a month or two ago as well. And it's going to be an absolutely brilliant answer to this Drake, and so is the True Silver as well, though. So
I almost feel like playing Argent Commander into the Drake there baits you to clear it because
Yeah.
and then you have Redemption upright. I almost feel like that was a better play. But I also see the merit of this play, and also that's banking on Mysterious using something to clear the Argent Commander first and not playing around Redemption. So it kind of begs that that's a little bit risky in that sense.
So this is definitely the more controlling version of Mage. Medivh there
wow,
is
yeah.
a very slow controlling card. And this is a tempo mage that's almost a control mage. It's an incredibly strange style that we've seen one or two people playing now.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Here we go. It's going to be Cabalist Tome. Opted to go
Wow,
for...
Mirror Images double Arcane Blast now, and he can kill some things. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
I was considering whether we'd opt to go for Flamewaker there, just because
Yeah,
of
he's
the
waiting.
1/1's on board. But with the weapon in hand, it's never a comfortable turn to go for that.
So
Yeah, he's going to go for it next turn, and next turn's going to be just silly with Flamewaker.
Yeah.
Even when the Sorcerer's dead, it's just going to be nuts.
None may steal us.
He's going to actually use the 1/1s to trade in here.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah, sensing that, hang on, my opponent's, just drawn a whole lot of stuff. Anything from a Blizzard, Flame Strike, anything like that would clear all these 1/1s. So getting the value out of them while he can.
So we'll see what he does here. Could just use File and Portal on the 3/4. Feels kind of slow. Will proc the Redemption, though, to give you a 3/1 in return. Or he could go for this crazy Flamewaker play. But that's Flamewaker, double Arcane Blast, and Mirror Image. That's really the maximum he can get out of that turn, and he's going to go for the File and Portal.
Wait, he's going to be pushing close to just dying here, by the way.
Yeah.
Jambre can attack with the Argent Commander and the board for over 10. And Leroy and Blessing is 10 on turn 9, so that's 20 in caster math.
None may
Caster math is always the best math, and actually that's a great draw because it gives him a very mana efficient play and pushes damage to face. Do we just see him? Do we see him take out the 4/4?
Probably.
I feel like he should.
I mean, how do you lose this game? That's what Jambre's thinking. If I leave anything up, all accidents probably start with that being there. But also, only having to do 3, he's gone with, I can always do 3.
Does he include Hammer
he's
of
got
Wrath?
Leroy and Argent Commander in
Sure.
hand, so...
Does he have Hammer of Wrath in his in his deck? Because right now, with the way that this 4/4 has anticipated on the board, we're going to see Flamewaker followed by a multitude of spells, and almost certainly going to see Mirror Image in there. It really depends on how much Flamewaker ends up clearing.
Yeah, I think he's taken the view that my opponent won't have a taunt other than a Mirror Images, which I can deal with at the absolute most, and decided that was the way he wanted to do it. I'd have been scared of possibly multiple... I mean, pros always disagree when they're in this situation where they're 99% versus 99.1%, but, my way of playing around it would have been what happens if he has Ice Block into Ice Block into Ice Block into Yogg. So I'd have cleared the board to stop that being a really good thing, but it doesn't matter really.
If he manages to take out this 3/2 and 3/1, which is very possible, he needs to get a hit onto the 3/1, but even then, he's frostbolted the 7/3, so we'll survive for one more turn. Yeah.
No, we'll be able to get rid
shot.
of them. So, it's going to... Well...
Okay.
in his
Why not?
mind,
Tyrion's a good
survives
card.
for a
Tyrion,
while.
without that Tyrion, he was actually probably going to lose next turn.
Agreed. This is why I totally felt that maybe taking out the 4/4 was maybe the better play.
Yeah, you called that at the time, and honestly, without that Tyrion, that was the end of the game next turn the wrong way.
And that puts a timer on Mysterious as well, because foregoing any more Kabbalist tomes or Babbling Book into Mirror Images, there's no more taunts left. But then there's also a timer here with the double Fireball, the Firelands Portal, so actually...
He's 1 mana off lethal with his Polymorph Ball,
Yeah.
which means we should be looking for lethal. Because casters are good at this bit.
I don't think he's got lethal right now, but he's got 12 damage in hand, and then he's got Polymorph Boar as well, which probably gets used onto the Tyrion in every situation, right?
Yeah. Interesting that he chose to do the
Firelands
board
Portal.
after. Now he can't even do it, so he's leaving up the Tyrion.
Okay. Goes to the ping on the Tyrion.
Yeah, setting it up so that he can potentially...
What is Barnes?
I mean, you could opt to go for the Polymorph onto one of your Mirror Images or something just to try and push, but Barnes comes down. Let's see what Jambre is going to be able to pull out of his hat.
See,
Archer Commander.
I was about to say, what this does is there's no way he can get through the mirror image with what Barnes brings, but a charge actually makes it a little bit more difficult for Mysterious to think about. And also now puts him within Consecration range. You imagine if he tops deck, even if this board gets completely cleared, imagine if he now top decks Consecration.
Yeah, there's so much stuff going on here. I'll just keep looking at this lethal that I just have the feeling if Mysterious had found a way to Fireball face last turn, he'd have had loads of ways to lethal this turn.
Wait, hasn't he got lethal this turn?
I'm trying to work that out right now.
Polymorph board, double fire.
He can't do
That's
polymorph.
11.
sorry, yeah, that's
I
11.
lied last turn.
Literally maths.
No,
yeah.
last time he had the sorcerer, that's why it was fine with last time.
Sorry, maths, everybody. Obviously not my strong suit.
Casters should never be allowed to talk about numbers. Unfortunately, this is a game about numbers, so we kind of have to.
So he's going for... Essentially, I need to hope to get as many hits from Flamewaker. Did he get it?
He did it.
He's got it. Okay, wow.
And that is how you turn a game around, ladies and gentlemen. Flamewaker comes on through for Mysterious. He's going to be able to hit those narrow shots, threads the needle with the fireballs, and it's all about how you. It's all about the mouse work, I think.
Well,
in those kind of
does this come back down to True Silver not being used on the 4-4?
Excoundrel called it at the time, like True Silver 4-4, and I was thinking, well, I kind of agree. Yeah, like the only way you lose that game when you're that far in front is let your opponent hit you for 4 a few times. Still incredible. I didn't expect it to happen, but it happened, and maybe an error there.
Not even maybe. He lost the game.
Sure.
Probably an error.
Sure.
Like obviously we can't guarantee that had he not killed it, he would have won. But he damn sight would have had a better chance of doing so.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things have to go wrong for you to lose that game there, but that was the first one was in your own control. So here we go. He's got the draw he's looking for this time, though.
Yeah, the eggs there. Like you said, you very cleverly pointed out, this is probably going to be an egg variant for Jambre, something that he has been pretty well known for. The Rallying Blade there as well. So, Lorinda, what are your thoughts behind Rallying Blade? Especially when you've got 2 True Silvers being included as well.
The whole deck wins by synergy and value and hitting you in the face. Three strong elements of Hearthstone there. Synergy, value, and hitting you in the face.
I guess it's like I always feel like it's a win more card, right? It's about Rallying Blade. Like if you're already on board with Divine Shields up, it's a win more. If not, it's just an expensive Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, but an expensive Fiery War Axe is still a Fiery War Axe.
It's still a Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, that's the thing. And if you've got enough 2-drops or decent hero power for turn 2, then having it on turn 3 isn't catastrophic. Obviously, you'd much rather have possibly the best card in the game, but you know, an approximation is all you've got. The 2 mana 1 has rotated out. The one from TGT.
So what this does do, however, is give him a very good way to deal with the Acolyte. If he were a greedy man, he would play the Argent Horse Rider and hope that it doesn't get its Divine Shield proc, but this is a better way of dealing with the Acolyte.
Yeah.
Especially since he's actually got a turn 4 play of Argent Horse Rider and Abusive Sergeant already in hand. And even if he needs to, he can go down the line of using the True Silver.
Yeah, very much so. You might as well get those charges on your weapon used up because he's got that other weapon in hand. And 3 is a really important health total at the moment in Hearthstone.
Yes.
You know, almost all the Shaman minions that aren't 7/7s have 3 health or less, and so on and so on. But you know, all of the Dragon Warrior minions do. So a 3/2 weapon is a good weapon if you build your curve accordingly.
So I want to just ask you guys, it's going to be an Enzoth warrior, so yet another version, Munchables, of a warrior that we're seeing here.
Yeah, and it still lends towards that kind of control variant. I mean, you can quite clearly see that by the hand that is available for Mysterious, but it begs the question of what else is going to be in this deck and what has been subbed out from that more classical control warrior style. Because, I mean, you've got the Infested Tauren, you've got Ken, very likely things like Sylvanas in there. Do you think there's going to be any other kind of different cards in there that are going to be subbed in?
I don't want to call it, but I haven't yet seen 2 copies of the same card.
You're a sick man. The more I sit here next to you, the more you scare me, ex-scoundrel. you keep coming up with scenarios that terrify me at night, and that's another one.
So
you're right. You're hinting about Mr. Reno himself.
Reno himself could be.
Goodness.
Although, does Jambre just say if a brawl is existing, I lose at this point?
He's got Mysterious Challenger, by the way. To some extent, but he's still trading sensibly to play around it. But I mean, I'm no Egg Paladin expert, I must admit. The Egg Paladin expert is that man there on the screen, but I would say that you have to throw caution to the wind a little bit in this matchup.
I would probably agree with you. I would say that the only reason he isn't as bothered about Brawl is that he's got a turn follow-up of Mysterious Challenger.
Yeah.
So even if he ends up with one minion on board, Mysterious Challenger's still there.
Yeah, I don't know which sequence they play. I assume they must still play, because they've lost Avenge. That was the
big one. That's why it became.
Yeah. But probably all the others still, I guess. So.
Still worried about Brawl, I think, because given how many cards are in hand for Mysterious, seems like Jambre doesn't want to commit Mysterious Challenger before he's seen a Brawl.
Can't say I blame him all too much, to be quite honest. Obviously wanting to save those threats until afterwards, and realistically, against this kind of control deck, you don't have to worry about them pressuring back anytime soon either. You're okay to hold on to those resources.
Although, I mean, you're right, but we're going to see some big nasty surprises for Jambre soon in the form of the Cairn and the Chillmore, if Mysterious feels he has time to actually develop those cards.
Just going to say, still haven't seen 2 copies of the same card.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
definitely looking towards that kind of direction.
I mean, I'm not saying this is going to be Reno.
You want it to be
but
Reno.
I want it to be Reno.
Deep down inside,
deep down I really want it to be Reno.
Yeah. I'm off. No. So, really difficult for Mysterious here. The reason he's taking so long is to decide, can I afford to put this Cairn down? Or this True Heart, sorry. Yeah. Even more sensibly. So that now he's got that extra armour for the rest of the game, but this turn he takes an absolute beating.
Yeah, and he doesn't even need to commit any minions to deal with this 6-3. You can obviously just use the True Silver for that if he absolutely wants to.
Who am I? None of your business.
There's the 2 secrets.
So again, like you guys have been talking about, he didn't want to play the Mysterious Challenger because of Brawl, so he waited until a minion came down from Mysterious, and then Jambre could clear up some bits and pieces.
Okay.
We thankfully see a second copy of something.
It's not Reno, boys.
And now he had to play the Mysterious Challenger to keep the pressure coming. And as we see, only 2 secrets, like you said.
So it's a 1 in 4 chance that he's upset. However, he has got the follow-up of the Fiery War Axe for anything else.
He's going to get rid of that Challenger, thankfully for him. War Axe will be available, as you rightly said, but do you want to waste that on 1-1, or do you want to just hold on?
Well, he's definitely got competitive spirit as a secret. I can't. It must be Noble Sacrifice.
You would think so, yeah. Which would have been pretty grim for Mysterious had the 5-5 survived, 6-6 survived. Here we go. Everybody's favourite card.
You sound so enthusiastic about that.
I love the combo of Keeper of Alderman into Barn Sergeant Commander, but he may be faced with yet another Brawl, or even just Chillmore. But there's no dragons in hand, right? So I'm kind of wondering where the dragons are coming from for Chillmore, or whether it's just literally a 6-6 with a Death Rattle.
Yeah, sometimes you just want a big taunt, so that when you play your N'Zoth, you've got a taunt in the way.
Absolutely.
But he did play the Tauren as well, I think.
Yes, he did.
Game.
Yep.
So he's going to have a taunt anyway. So he's really into, when I play my N'Zoth, I want my board protected. And I always find it interesting watching specialists play a deck, by the way. I think most people would have lost with his Paladin hand already.
Yeah.
And Jambre's finding a way to just generate more and more pressure over and over again, just by making sure he never misses a hero power, amongst other things.
Absolutely.
Consistently laying that pressure on, as you rightly say. However, Mysterious, he's starting to build up a hefty hand, and he's starting to find answers for just about every scenario that Jambre throws at him. And this is the issue of running with this aggro paladin. Unlike the Hunter, unlike the Warlock, you don't have that hero power that lends to consistent pressure in the same way. You don't have unlimited resources, and it feels like Jambre, to some extent, is starting to run out of steam here.
Absolutely feels like he's starting to run out of steam. I was calculating whether if he drew Blessing of Kings, if he'd have lethal, but I don't think he would have done. Uses the Consecration because where else are you going to use it? But I think, unfortunately, it seems like an N'Zoth turn next turn. 2 taunts.
Yeah, it seems bad for Jambre. Yeah, the reason he used that Consecration there, obviously, to protect these Divine Shields, because he wasn't sure whether the dragon was going to explode or not, because it's a fairly... Yeah, there could be an Azure Drake or something hiding here. You do see maybe a big dragon hiding in these decks like a Deathwing or...
Revenge seems
I was
fine as
about
well.
to say Revenge is now available, and he's got Shield Slam, he's got Blood to Ichor, Fiery War Axe. There's ways to proc these Divine Shields here. So maybe he isn't forced into the N'Zoth just yet.
I'm not sure if he can. I think he'll look to find a way to be able to hit this armor up a few more turns in a row. But
so Blood to Ichor, Shield Slam, Revenge, all of those seem pretty good here. So what would you do? Blood to Ichor, the 3/4? Are you even that bothered about getting that on board because it's going to die to Revenge anyway? So Blood to Ichor, one of the Divine Shields. Although it clears Barnes, right? So.
And I don't want to talk Mysterious down at all. There's every chance he knows what's going on here. But Leroy is if this is a deck he hasn't played against much, Leroy could be something that's not on the forefront of his mind.
Yes.
So it'd be interesting to see if he does manage to armor up every turn. He should work it out. Like, he's a very strong player. He should work this out. But we may see him not hit the armor up button, but we're going to, I think.
So he's not too worried about the 2/1.
Yeah, he's going to armor up in the end. Drops Barnes as well. We'll see what is going to be available to him here. What is the miracle?
Oh.
And that lends to the N'Zoth later as well, except it won't be a 1/1.
Yeah, Mysterious managed to dodge a bullet there.
2 damage off lethal. Oh no, sorry, not 2 damage. 3 damage off lethal had he not had that taunt there as well.
Yeah, like Munch says, Barnes really good here because with that N'Zoth, these cards come back as their true selves. They're only a 1/1 to start with. If they get silenced or bounced or something like that, or resurrected, they come back as a full minion.
So I don't feel like Jambre's done anything particularly bad this game, compared to what we were talking about with the True Silver play in the first game. I just feel like Mysterious has had the answers and played them at the correct time. I know what I would have been like in the situation where it was turn 5 and I felt like I wanted to brawl, but Mysterious did a really good job of holding it to wait for Mysterious Challenger. I'm a bad player, right? I would have definitely brawled before that, but Mysterious has made the correct play in that scenario.
Yeah, and playing against an unusual deck is always difficult, so playing incredibly well here.
Yeah, kept his cool and used those resources appropriately. And now I've got to say, while it is looking good for Mysterious, he's still not won just yet. He's still not got masses of armor built up, and that's something that the Warrior will do over time, but he still needs to have time. We can see that there's 8 damage straight from hand available. However, he's going to play N'Zoth.
Yeah, that says gain 12 health.
That's crushed all the dreams of Jambre, I think, at this point.
The victory is
Yeah. Hit the nail on the head right there.
Dreams
Jambre
crushed.
agrees.
New emote. You have crushed my dreams.
Yeah. Well, Mysterious now 2-0 up and starting to look pretty fantastic in this series. And I've got to say, excellent use of that Control Warrior, and or N'Zoth Warrior, or whatever we want to call it.
Technically still a Control Warrior.
Yeah,
right.
this is one of the things about that kind of whole archetype is there's so many different tangents you can take it, and half of them all blend together. It's sometimes you're not even sure what these decks are even called at this point.
Yeah, it's N'Zoth Control Warrior, and then you just go, and some other things, whatever you want to
And
call
then
it, you can
maybe
get away
Reno
with.
sometimes.
Maybe Reno sometimes if you're lucky and you're a scoundrel.
It definitely felt like it could have been Reno, and we didn't see that many duplicates throughout the rest of the game.
To be fair, Mysterious was one of the biggest proprietors of Reno Lock in the last season, so...
Let's just bear in mind as well, I think one of the only duplicates we saw was in fact the Brawl. You can run a couple of duplicates in a Reno deck.
I think Excalibur going to get his dream.
Oh baby. Is this Mysterious bringing probably his favoured deck from last season, which is the Reno Lock?
job's done.
I think so.
It looked,
like
with the
it.
inclusion of Mountain Giant, it would lead me to believe that this is probably Reno Lock with Cthulhu in there as well.
Cthulhu Reno Lock. Yeah, one of my favourite decks.
I play it all the time.
So you did see this for a while on Ladder a few weeks ago, and it was definitely a playable deck and a functioning deck, and it curves out annoyingly well. It does have enough on each drop to just keep going. Despite the fact it only usually plays one of each Cthulhu minion, they seem to impact the game just enough to buy you the time to get into that Reno turn, to get into that Cthulhu turn, and slowly but surely sort of squeeze your opponent to death.
This feels kind of nice here with the Abusive Sergeant to clear off this Sunfury Protector that is thrown down as just to contest the board. It's almost like a free trade for the Argent Squire here.
Absolutely. So, Jambre is going to be happy with this first turn, but I think already, having played the Sun Fury Protector that early on in the game already is going to be spelling to Jambre like, okay, this ain't no zoo, this ain't no discard lock. I think we're dealing with a Reno lock already. Like, I think that's very obvious to him, because what other deck are you actually going to see that card in?
Oh, Abusive Sergeant's a great draw off the top here as well.
And this is also one of the things about having played against this deck before. Now he's played against this deck twice. In the first game, he may not have just played a 2-3 on the board like that. He may have just tapped, waited, because you'd think it'd be Murloc Paladin. What's the hurry?
Yeah.
Whereas this time around, it's like, no, I need to get this anything on the board I can, so to speak, with the Murlocs. But anything I can get on the board right now is a 2-3. That'll do. I don't need to wait for taunt. I don't need to get massive value. I need to just not die in a hurry.
So one of the things I'm wondering is, does Jambre run any form of card draw here? Are we Divine Favor still in rotation, right?
It is.
So do we see a Divine Favor for Jambre? Because I haven't seen it being pulled from his deck thus far, and I feel like he's very, very lacking in terms of card draw at this point in time. He cycles through his hand very, very quickly, ends up with almost next to no answers or anything he can play further, and against a Reno lock, like, that can be devastating, picking up a Divine Favor.
That's interesting, actually. I think there's an option that he could. I genuinely, it's not a deck I've seen much of. But it definitely could be in there. That makes logical sense to me. I'm not a fan of Divine Favor, but I think Jambre did play it originally. I could be wrong on that. I'm sure people will let me know if I am.
I'm almost... okay, when you build a deck, right, you have to think about multiple facets of how to run the deck. Card draw is one of the biggest facets to think about. Well, the Warlocks obviously don't worry about it. They've got the hero power. But as a Paladin, you have limited options for what you can use for card draw. You know, Hammer of Wrath, I mean, who really plays that? I mean, we have seen it, obviously, in some Paladins recently, but Divine Favor for aggro Paladins has always been that saving grace of, I spam my hand and then I have Divine Favor to make up for it. I would expect that Jambre wants to see, or at least have Divine Favor.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me, unless, and the only unless I think, it's only a guess, maybe he thinks the Mysterious Challenger counts as enough draw, but I'd guess there's Divine Favor lurking here somewhere. As like you say, that would actually just be a game changer here a lot of the time, as Reno will just fill his hand up at some point.
Corruption would be great, I think, if he managed to get it out, because it deals the 6/6, and you know you're Reno, so have the eventual.
It is, in fact, Possess Villager, Soulfire, and Voodoo Witch Doctor, is it called? I didn't quite catch it.
We'll go with that.
The 2-1 that heals. I can't say I've seen that card that often.
No, the Voodoo Witch Doctor is something else, I believe. Wicked Witch Doctor. It might be Voodoo Witch Doctor. I don't know.
I just thought it was Voodoo Doctor. I don't know.
Just Voodoo Doctor. Just the straight up Voodoo Doctor.
Voodoo Doctor, yeah.
Just a 2-1 for 1. Okay, just basic card. Sure.
Yeah.
Voodoo Doctor.
2-1 heals.
Sorry,
2-1
guys.
heals.
I butchered that. Just edit that out. Oh, right, so.
It's not looking bad for Jambre right now. The only thing he has to be worried about is board clears are plentiful from the Warlock. And there is the Reno.
Reno has arrived.
Reno has arrived.
Get the party started, boys. Cairn is in hand here for Mysterious. Do you drop the Cairn? Do you dare play that slowly?
Yeah, I think so. When you've got Reno in your hand, one of the things that Reno does, like as a hidden effect, basically, is allows you to get incredibly greedy with the rest of your deck. So
at this point, do you just have to ignore Cairn?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. You've got to do 21 damage. The only thing is Jambre might have the read now that Reno is in hand, in which case he can't afford to ignore Cairn. So he's got to try and work out why the Cairn was played there, and he may come to the conclusion it's because Reno is against me.
Yeah, and it may come to the conclusion that Reno's in hand as well. But like you said, Reno allows you to be a little bit more greedy in terms of your plays.
But Jambre will recognise this is a greedy play, so he may actually realise that means that Reno's in my opponent's hand, and then he has to trade.
So Soulfire's never getting played, right? At least
not in a hurry.
Not in a hurry, right?
Not anytime soon. It may well be played in sort of 3 or 4 turns' time, just to make sure he doesn't die, just empty Jambre's hand out. And playing around that Divine Favour you referred to as well, if he does think there's a chance of that being in there, Soulfire is a good way to keep him on 2 cards, his opponent on none, or something like that.
Yeah, and recognising that this Cairn is something that needs to be dealt with, Jambre is going to clear that up. So it's going to move forward, still controlling the game. Oh, wait, what? No, sorry. Traded the 2-1 into Cairn and then hit face.
So I think he's decided that 9 is the key number if he gets a Leroy, for instance, off the top here, for whatever reason, and ran the rest, what he could afford to run into Cairn. Also now Hellfire is a problem, as we can see. So something he was playing around possibly there. But he realised he didn't need to put all that damage into face, so he kind of split the difference a bit in a really clever way.
You can't Hellfire right now either as well, so... Yeah, that's good. And now you still don't Soulfire because your hand is just too high value. at this point in time. Consecration's not bad, though.
Consecration certainly brings up a couple of answers. Still has the 3 damage of his weapon, so he could start to look to clear. Has a nice easy trade with the 6/6 onto Reno, but again plays into Hellfire. So I think a lot of decisions available for Jambre. A lot of different ways that you could play this turn. I think this is one of the turns that, in terms of how you trade and things, many players would debate different arguments.
Super variable. Me personally, I would Rallying Blade into Reno, trade my 1/1 in, use Consecration, maybe trade the 6/6 into the remainder of Cairn, and then go face. But then I'm worried about Hellfire. It's a really difficult turn for me, to be
this
honest.
goes back to the turn where we said Mysterious, you know, it looked like a greedy play, and we were saying he'd get away with it because of Reno. This Cairn is now on the board, and he's on 30 health, which means that Jumbre's options are: if I hit you in the face, your Cairn's going to clear me up. If I don't hit you in the face, then everything is going to die. I'm just going to do no damage and then kill my own board off. So getting that Cairn down has led to this situation now, where 2 turns later, it's really looking bad for Jambre again.
This is difficult, but Hellfire is going to be almost a saving grace at this point in time.
Soggoth the Slitherer, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think actually the way that Jambre played it has basically said that I'm not going to play into Hellfire for you, you're going to have to play Hellfire for me, and even if Hellfire comes through, I can still clear board with my Rallying Blade, so...
Yeah, he's played it really well. I don't think it's going to work out for him because he's just running out of resources, and Mysterious hasn't seen it yet, though.
This is that same issue that he keeps on running into, where this deck does well for a while. It looks like he's starting to win the game, but then it just seems to run out of steam. It's like just in the last 100 meters of the marathon, he seems to run out of energy.
I need to know whether he's included Divine Favor in his deck or not.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know, wouldn't it? Talking of running, Leroy next turn will not be running away from the Whelps because they're going to get consecrated. So Jambre is going to be able to step the Soggoth the Slitherer, like you do.
Keeper of Alderman can target it, though.
And Jambre happens to know that.
None may steal us.
Beautiful.
And he does the effective trade, you know, doesn't...
I think that's my favourite player interaction that I've seen throughout the history of webcams at the Premiership right there. Jambre with the thumbs up.
We did it, guys.
And actually, this is really... I feel like Assault Fire almost has to come out at this point in time.
I'm just trying to work out if there's any way he can not die next turn, to be honest.
Not with what he's got in hand.
And he's got to know Jambre's hand as well. And that's probably...
Let's have a think. If Rag hits a 3/3, he's got 4 in hand plus 6. No, he'd need something extra.
Does that count?
That's not with Leroy, though.
But we just ignore this Rag.
I was going to say, you've still got turns to play with here. And as well, I've noticed, at least I would hope you guys have noticed, that Mysterious, he's not been tapping for a while. I think he's well aware he's running out of health regeneration. He's already used his Reno, used his refreshment vendor. He's running out of
that
ways
Soulfire was emergency as well.
Yeah, that's not Argus either, so tap has to come through.
And there it is.
There
it is. Well,
I'm such an awful person.
In Gang Boss available as
don't
well.
think it's going to matter, but
I don't think it'll matter. I don't know.
With the Gang Boss as well, perhaps it is.
Both Keeper of Ultimates have been played as well, so the 9/9 will be a pain.
I'm so sorry. I'm such an awful person, Jambre.
You ruined my notes.
I'm an awful person for you as well. Let's think. Rallying Blade gives 1/1 to Divine Shield minions. That means you can take out the Imp Gang Boss for free. You can trade your Leroy and your face and a single dude into the Ragnaros, and then you have the potential next turn with Consecration and the rest of your Rallying Blade to do the Justice, but we know that there's Acidic Swampoos in hand, so yeah, this is not looking great for Jambre.
Yeah, agreed entirely, and these trades are not easy.
Although the Divine Shield, I did forget about that. That could prove pretty important if he trades the other 1/1 into the remaining Imp.
Yeah, you counted it the first time through.
Okay, he consecrates now.
And he can finish off Rag with the 1/1s. So pretty successful turn for him. Still has 20 HP to work with. Mysterious.
This is a way better play than my play.
Running out of threats.
I thought you got there, and then you reversed on yourself. In fairness, you got there, and then you undid it.
Yeah, it was a way better play than my play.
Here we go. I mean, what do you do here? Twisting Nether, but you still don't actually save yourself.
You've got the Swampoos as well, so you can Twisting Nether Swampoos is the play that you think you make. I think Mysterious has worked out. There's been a Leroy in hand every game though. It's just been one card in Jambre's hand at the end of every game, and no Divine Favour, like you say, that we've seen in any of those 3 games.
Well, it looks like, I don't want to call it too early, but I think Jambre might just be able to pull himself back into this series. Mysterious 2-0 up.
Wow. Are you? Next week, weather with Munch. Today was hot.
Today was hot. I'll give you that. I will give you that. Actually, no, it wasn't that hot. But yeah, there we go. It's hot in here. I'll give you that. I'm not sure this is accurate though. It's definitely not 26 degrees.
All I'm saying, boys, is if there's one deck that you're going to reverse sweep, Reno Lock's going to be the deck, and then if there's one player that can reverse sweep and make my prediction come true, Jambre.
I don't know, Raven definitely fighting for that title after the promotions. Yeah. 2 reverse sweeps on the stream during the promotions.
Yeah, it looked like he was getting really, really stressed about it as well, so it'll be interesting to see what state he's in tonight. No, I'm not saying I'm blaming him, but yeah.
UK ESL Premiership is the real deal, my friends. You know, Raven wanted to get back into it. It's,
for sure.
Absolutely. And we've already talked about, I don't want to get too deep into Raven right now. Phrasing. But yeah, he's been trying to go against that whole stereotype of he's a caster, not a player, and this is a good way of him doing that. But let's focus on this series right now, because we're already jumping straight into the next game here. The mulligan is underway 2-1 in favour of Mysterious, but Jambre, he's got off of that Paladin finally. He's been playing that Paladin the entire series so far, and now he's moving on to a Hunter. Yeah,
and it's a Hunter with Azure Drake in there. That's a kind of interesting addition for traditional Hunters. What do you think of that, Lorinda?
Well, I mean, I'm not quite sure exactly what it's going to do, but it's going to give him a lot of sustain going forward. And sustain against Reno deck as a Hunter feels like it's pretty dangerous for the Reno deck.
Hey, look, if he needs a 6 damage kill command to win the game, you know, we'll be laughing.
Yeah, I mean, Reno doesn't have, apart from the obvious, as much healing as it could have. So, you know, the ability to just draw more cards and keep damage coming and mess up the Reno's chance of getting all the removal it needs. Yeah, definitely an interesting thing. It may well match up really well here. I wonder if he's done his homework on Mysterious.
I was about to ask, do you go for Animal Companion here or just lock in the Houndmaster? It looks like the decision has already been made. Houndmaster going to come out here. I definitely think there's argument to be made for the Animal Companion. But it's kind of like, is it worth the 1 in 3?
I was going to make an argument for Infested Wolf personally, but I think you're right. All of those specific plays had their own merits, so...
Yeah, he's seeing it that if he plays the Infested Wolf on 4, he's still going to have beasts going into turn 6, I think, for these kill commands.
Yeah.
And also, you want to make sure, under no circumstances, your Houndmaster get left stranded. So, even though I think that normally you'd just carry on curving, the fact you get to lock in, my Houndmaster's definitely doing its Houndmastery thing this turn, is probably what swung the decision in the end.
What do you think about Mountain Giant being included, guys? Because that was dead in the hand for the entire last series because he was against aggro.
Okay, so if he runs into like a Control Warrior or something, he'll just tap the first, say, 3 turns, and then he has an 8-8, and the Control Warrior is automatically starting to use up resources, whether it's an Execute out of the hand or whatever. That's how the old handlock used to work, is just put big things down and hope they run out. But yeah, against aggro decks, these Mountain Giants seem to be a little bit sort of dead in the water.
Yeah. Well, this is not actually looking fantastic right now for Mysterious. Obviously does have some options, still has a few ways to clear the board, but yet to find his Reno and already starting to feel the pressure just a tad.
At this point, I think Hellfire seems the most sensible option. You could have Bran and Sunfire, but that also really doesn't do much for you.
Yeah, the minions just get bigger and bigger from here on in, so get that Hellfire to do as much as it's going to while you can.
Never Huffer.
Never Huffer. Wait, what? And now Jambre, decision time, and decides to put down the Grandmother.
Not quite Face Hunter, doesn't have to worry about weaving in as many hero powers as the old Face Hunter used to, so Given the death rattle, he has then the insurance policy that he will have something on board after a board clear for his kill command, which makes some sense.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Like you say, not needing those hero powers, especially because they might just all get negated in one go with a Reno.
Still, no Reno in hand for Mysterious. And actually, you know, the amount of pressure that Hunter can pile on, you're hoping that at some point he's going to start to think about pulling Reno from the top of his deck, because otherwise he'll be...
He's not going to now because he's dead.
Okay, he's actually dead. Yeah.
That...
Very quickly gone from a 2-0 to a 2-2. Like, that second game, incredibly fast there.
And we're never going to find out about that Azure until next week. Tune in next week, everybody, to ESL UK Premiership.
For the second episode of Jambre Plays Hunter. But yeah, so 2-2 now, and Mysterious, he's actually staring down the barrel of a reverse sweep at this rate. Jambre playing nothing but aggro.
Wow, the smug alarm is going off in my left ear.
No, what I'm hoping for today is I just randomly pull these predictions out. And I've had no basis. They're just kind of random, thinking on who I think's going to win and then pulling a random number out. And I'm going to get 4 out of 4, hopefully.
And then next week you're going to come back with a spreadsheet full of stats and stuff and say, these are the scores. They'll all be completely wrong.
Exactly. However, we'll have to see. It is Yogg, Arcane Giant, Druid.
Yeah, this is Malagos Druid, I believe. Or it's at least 4 of the cards that are in
Yeah, I mean,
Malagos
it can be either, but
yeah.
it's likely to be that
Malagos, there you
Druid,
go.
So.
Not a great opening hand for Jambre, though.
Job's done.
No, unfortunately, none of the innovates, none of the wild growths.
And actually, ramp is important versus the Reno lock. You want to be able to slam down big threats as quickly as possible before removal and the likes come out.
Yeah, Mysterious has got a really nice hand for just curving through, and he's able to tap as well.
And this is one of those matchups we were just talking about where he can just tap the first few turns, and if he does draw a Mountain Giant, this is where it really comes into
So Raven Island into Wild Growth would be key.
So if he doesn't get that Mountain Giant, it'd be interesting to see what he does off the top, because he'll have the decision. Moonglade Portal seems nice.
Yeah, Moonglade Portal seems nice, but also then I'm thinking Reno lock, big threats, maybe Mulch is good as well. Depends how many Mulches he's running. Some people run 2, some people run 1.
Yeah, in this version, they tend to be a little bit squeezed for spots because of the Moonfires they have to play with the Malagos, or have to synergise with the Malagos and such like. So, tend to just play one of the 3 drops, but it's not certain, and so he would have been more tempted. But he has that.
I did see one version of this Malagos list where you run no Naturalize, no Mulch, and just rely on Raven Idols to maybe pick that up and kind of just... Obviously, it's a little bit risky not to run any of that, but especially if you're running into a lot of aggro on ladder or anything, which isn't that big of a card for you. You don't want to actually use that on low-cost minions.
Yeah, I mean, Raven Idol, there's only something like 25 Druid spells, give or take a few, but it's not like 40 or something. So you're often going to get, in the course of 2 of them, you know, something that you want, especially if you're looking for a class card which gets a 400% bonus.
Yeah.
So, you know, suddenly you're looking for something like a Moonglade Portal or a Mulch, and you've got a decent chance of finding it.
So that's a nice top deck of the Mortal Coil. Probably not many situations where you're going to be able to use Mortal Coil for its true effect versus the Druid. And he heals up the Imp Gang boss too.
That is one of the greatest feelings in Hearthstone, when you can top up your Imp Gang boss and start to build that board pressure.
Proving me a lie there with his second 3 drop, with his Feral Rage. So he's prioritised, you know, cheap and efficient stuff a bit higher than most people do.
So he can actually clear the bigger threats on board if he absolutely wants to this turn.
Yeah, the problem is when Reno does this thing, especially this Cthulhu variant, it can just curve through you. You've got to be very careful not to go, it's only a Reno lock, it's not going to kill me on board, and suddenly find yourself in a world of hate. And a world of hate's about, you know, pretty much where he's at right now.
Yeah, it wasn't a great opening hand for Jambre, to be honest.
He is going to go into this Moonglade Portal turn next turn, though, so maybe he can find something nice.
Yeah, Moonglade Portal actually was set up quite a lot of other stuff as well, like his Giant for turn 7 to protect his Ancient if he wants.
I was going to say, would you consider playing Doomsayer on that turn? Just because you can, you know, you're moving into that turn 6, you're going to deal a little bit more damage. Moonglade Portal would be a likely option for your opponent that turn.
I feel like you have to Moonglade here, right?
Yeah. I think he was probably hoping to save it until turn 7 because of the Ancients always there, basically. Whereas the Moonglades are maybe, the Ancients are definite.
That's Shadowbolt. That is a nice response to a 4/4 on board if you want to play it.
But you've got to ask the question: do you just risk things and play Emperor just for that?
I mean,
look
so
how much
Total,
value
but you get a lot of value out of Emperor here.
Before you start thinking about your turn, you realise obviously you can trade. You don't have to. You're not the aggressor. You're still the defensive deck to some degree. And like you say, you get a lot of value out of this Emperor. But do you reduce any cards that matter? That's sometimes a factor in the Emperor. You reduce 7 mana's worth of stuff, but does any of it matter?
None of this is particularly huge. Sylvanas is nice to have cheaper sometimes. I don't know how much value he's going to get out of the Stampede Encoder as the game progresses. There's not many minions that the Druid runs that has got less than 2 attack. But by tapping, he can play the Arcane Giant. I almost think that Jambre has to come out with like a YOLO sort of... I guess I say the word YOLO too much. He comes out with a Malagos play that is before Reno comes down, and I think this is kind of where he's leaning towards as this stands. It's like I don't want you to play Reno, but I want to try and bring out Malagos, double Moonfire, that kind of thing.
You can OTK them really easily with Malagos if the game goes long enough.
Yeah.
The problem is getting the game to go long enough. That's why Mysterious is putting a little bit of pressure on, just to make sure, hey, he doesn't just go Malagos, Moonfire, Innovate,
Major
Living Roots.
Major Domo in hand right
Major
now.
Domo Executors.
I'm off.
Yeah,
Done.
I'm done.
well, that's a
Dunzo,
card.
boys.
That is a card, and also gets Ragnaros right after it, just for the synergy.
I feel like actually Emperor is now good because you've got a full hand, you've got a lot of high value minions in there. It's decent. You're not exactly. You're never going to be Renoing combo parts.
I mean,
in a Reno lock deck,
it's maximum value, right? He's got 9 other cards in hand, so it's pretty much as good of an Emperor turn as you're going to get.
Sure. Now you're
unless
at the
you're a
point,
freeze mage.
And your opponent probably can't even kill him.
So that's two turn value. He's already seen a mulch, so
yeah, this is absolutely crazy. And if there's any doubt as to how far in front he was before, he really is now. But he has got to watch out for just dying to Malagos, Moonfire, Living Roots stuff.
Do you play Doomsayer this turn just as like a you can kill my Emperor, but I'm bringing you with me kind of thing? Force multiple answers.
I think you might just drop Sylvanas.
yeah, I almost feel Sylvanas is just better. You probably don't trade your own Emperor in because you obviously want to get the 2-turn value out of it. So you could just drop Sylvanas here and even play Refreshment Vendor if you really wanted to try and keep your life total as close as possible to 30. Or you could just play Sylvanas and tap to get more value out of your... or can he tap because that might overdraw him next turn? I can't see how many cards he's got in hand.
Yeah, the Doomsayer thing's relevant because you're never playing Doomsayer if you don't play it this turn.
Yeah, completely. But then you're ruining your own...
But do you care?
Yeah.
That's the question that's going through his mind. Do I just never want to play this card? So it's definitely a relevant question to think about. And one of the difficulties with playing Reno Lock, Hand Lock, Control Warlock in general is prioritising so many different cards because you've always got a full hand.
The thing about it, and Munch is correct in saying there's always these options that you have to think about in every turn, and there's the Living Roots. I guess you think Doomsayer could prove useful if you sometimes need to deal with Malagos. You can force him to use one of his Malagos burn spells on the Doomsayer instead of face.
This is nice. Just to put things into context, oh my goodness, this could be absolutely game winning.
That's
just to put
pretty
it into
good.
context, he had 18 damage available to him next turn, basically. If he had 10 mana this turn, he would have had 18 damage available, with a 5 from the Ancient and the 2 things. And next turn, he's got 22 damage available to him.
I've got to say, we've seen 100% more Argent Commander than I ever expected to see tonight.
Yeah.
Disciple of Cthulhu's looking pretty good now, though, for 1 mana, 2 damage.
Yeah, that seems about as efficient as it's ever going to get.
Disciple of Cthulhu looks pretty good for 3 mana.
Yeah, true.
Well, we'll see how he's going to play this one out. Look, it does have Sylvanas to play. There's a Shadow Bolt, Disciple of Cthulhu. He's got certain ways to deal with this board. The 5/10 is awfully chunky, though. It's still uncomfortable to have to use so many cards to deal with such a...
My line of play personally would be Sylvanas, Defender of Argus, and Disciple, just because Druid just cannot deal with that. Like, there's no real way that Druid gets through this board effectively, and with Sylvanas on board too, it means that your Ancient of War becomes very, very susceptible to being stolen.
Yeah, heads up there as well to be careful for Mysterious, because he knows that, this Malagos deck can just kill you.
Yeah.
And wasn't far off doing it with the Moonfire top deck there. So he's just playing mega careful about how he's making his board set up.
So as Jambre, you kind of don't want to play anything here, almost, right?
I think there's merit to just dropping some Arcane Giants.
Yeah, I think that's probably where we end up.
You have the perfect amount of mana to just drop 2 massive 8/8s on the board and actually start to contest for the board state.
Yeah, but I guess the only worry in the back of my mind is Sylvanas is still there.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, whatever she steals, she's going to steal something big at this stage.
Yeah, is there any way? I mean, you don't want to give Malagos away.
Well, your win condition is now Malagos.
Is there a way you can give away Fandral, which is kind of safe to give away?
Yeah, and that's the only thing that would, on my mind, be an acceptable play.
He's going to take out what he can with this Ancient while he can to make sure that Sylvanas stealing it doesn't steal a huge guy, but I think Jambre knows this is going to be incredibly tough from this point onwards.
You know, 100% tough from now.
Don't forget there's Yogg in this deck. I mean, nothing's ever over. If you play Yogg, clear the board, then next turn play Malagos, Moonfire, Living Roots, plus whatever nonsense Yogg gives you as well.
He's played 7 spells so far, right? Because Arcane Giant's down to 5 from 12. So he's played 7 spells at the moment, which is a decent Yogg, but not an amazing Yogg. What's the maximum burst munch that Malagos Druid can do with double Living Roots, double Moonfire?
Off the top of my head, I don't actually know what the maximum is. Oh, 26. I've just been told.
No!
We set him up.
Well, I read it off the sheet.
Yeah,
that Lorinda
7 and 6, and then 2 lots of 7 and 6 basically.
Yeah.
So I should have written the wrong number on there.
Yeah, that would have been great. It's actually 14.
Yeah, I realised that was meant to be stealthily telling me, and then I said it suddenly. I was like, oh yes, I am a maths genius. it just appeared in my mind.
I think this is Mysterious's game now, though.
Yeah, and it's all about can Jambre just last one more turn. And
you have to use Malagos and attempt to clear things, which he can't even clear Ragnaros, can he?
Well, Ragnaros gets cleared by hitting Malagos for 8. If you're in like Christmas world right now. Or it gets stolen. But you have to Living Roots to make... this is horrible. Yeah, this is the right play. So he's Living Roots to make dudes so that Ragnaros doesn't necessarily hit you in the face.
And praying that
Sylvanas doesn't steal. Yeah, exactly.
Well, at least Malagos survived. Can put another 8/8 on the board. So Ragnaros is gonna struggle to hit true. However,
any Warlock card wins this game pretty much. Yeah,
that'll win you the game, right?
No, we don't have a demon. I was going to say that will win you the game. We don't have a demon.
No, that's true.
This is a tricky situation for both players because Mysterious, you find yourself in one of those situations where it's like, how hard do I commit to this? If I can't find lethal, do I risk the Ragnaros and then he Yoggs next turn and suddenly just miraculously comes back? How much do you commit to trying to finish off this turn? Because outside of Yogg, you're not under any immediate threat, right? So you could just play this slowly and like search for a way to eke it out over the next 2 turns.
I think he's mentally just checking through his deck to see how many of those cards are relevant. Yeah, if there's 3 or 4, he'll probably tap. He's just making sure there are some.
Kind of relevant, but not really.
Yep, he'll be pretty safe. He knows that now if he gets rid of face, gets rid of face. Yeah, this is fine. I wonder if he could have put the 4/2 into Malagos there. Because it would still have been face if it hit face, and it would have killed the Malagos if it hit Malagos. But this is fine as well, obviously.
Still not great for Jambre though. Really running on, well, absolute minimum, bare minimum here.
You know you've got a late game deck when a 5/10, a 4/12 and an 8/8 on the board is running on bare minimum.
Yeah, you can spot the man who's all in on 3/2 here, can't you? He's only got the minimum. No.
Does Shadowflame
have
relevance here? Yeah.
If you Shadowflame your Rag,
you Shadowflame your Rag, and you win the game.
Mysterious finding a way through. Looked like he might get reverse swept there for a while, and just managing to play that really, really tidily, kept himself out of nonsense range. Like some people there could have just lost to Malagos and burst. and managed to be very aware against Leroy and against Malagos exactly where he was at all times.
And I think a key thing in that series as well was Mysterious was struggling against those aggro decks, but once Jambre was also on that really late game deck, that was where Mysterious' Arena Lock really came into its own. He could play it at whatever pace he wanted. He wasn't forced to use resources as quickly, and he could kind of just play it how it came, and it was a much more relaxed game for him, much more sat back, just overseeing the battle rather than actually having to get down a dirty.
Yeah, you guys were pointing out that he gets to play the Mountain Giant, which actually is a card that he didn't use in the first couple of games there because it was kind of too slow.
The Arena Lock in general can be quite greedy, but Mysterious's version was a super greedy version of Arena Lock. It had Sluggoth the Slither in it, it had Mountain Giant, it had Majordoma Executus, which is like super late game when you're in a fatigue setting and you want to start doing 8 damage to face every turn. It was a very, very greedy Arena Lock deck, but I've got to say, Jambre was completely hindered by the fact that he drew 2 Arcane Giants and Malagos in his opening hand, and never drew Yogg as well. So it was a tough draw for Jambre, but it was a close series. And if you ask anybody from the Premiership, who is the underdog player that we all respect, be Mysterious.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I mean, he made it to playoffs last time. He got 3rd of the entire Premiership in Season 1, but we're going to go into a quick break, but we have one heck of a matchup following the break. It's going to be Ball Control against Green Sheep, arguably the 2 biggest names here in this tournament, and that